Welcome to the Elite Life Podcast with your hosts, Trisha and Kylee. Here, we guide you on a journey of personal and professional transformation, revealing the secrets to success. Whether you're a seasoned pro or just starting out, join us as we unlock the doors to the elite world of growth, grit, and grace. So, let's dive in.
Welcome, friends, to another episode of the Elite Life Podcast. We are so glad you're here today. My name is Trish.
And I'm Kylee.
Kylee B.
That's me.
Welcome. We are so glad that you joined us on the Elite Life Podcast.
Absolutely. Today's episode is all about one of the most iconic figures in business history, John D. Rockefeller. And we're talking about the habits that he used to build his brand, his company, like literally everything that he touched. And these habits turned his company and his businesses into complete powerhouse. So we're going to break down the Rockefeller Habits and discuss how they can be applied to your real estate business or your worm growing business. I always go back to worm growing, or whatever it is that you are passionate about that you want to monetize.
Do people really grow worms? Is that a
People
thing?
breed worms so that we can get them and go catch fish out in your backyard. Where do you think they come from? You think we'd be digging in the dirt for those?
Yeah.
No. Ryan is on a first name basis with the guy at the bait store on Airport Road.
And he has a worm farm.
I don't know if he has a worm farm, but there are worm farms out there, sis. We're missing out. I'm telling you, multi-million-dollar biz. We are missing out.
I could totally grow some worms in back by the lake over there. I have a lake. That's like perfect for growing worms, I feel like. All right, let's kick things off with the first habit. Healthy and aligned executive team. This is a big one, and John D. Rockefeller knew that the performance of his business was directly tied to the strength and alignment of his leadership team. It's absolutely essential that your leadership team understands each other's strengths and, more importantly, that they support each other. This is something that we are actually currently working on at Elite Realty.
I love it
We
so
have
much.
implemented monthly leadership teams where me, Andy, Kim, and Erica sit down together in the office. Last episode I was talking, like, Wednesday was crazy because we have our team meeting, and then we had our high performers meeting, and then
I was going to call it the follow-up boss people.
Yeah. And then we had our leadership team meeting, and it has been great. Like, we've had that was only our second leadership team meeting, but I was joking because there's that like meme on Instagram, and it's the guy from The Hangover, and he's like, first I was one in the wolf pack, and then you joined my wolf pack. And I was like, this was us at the first leadership meeting. We're like, is there anything to talk about? No. Yes, there's definitely things to talk about.
Absolutely, 100%. So if you're leading a real estate team or you have any kind of business, this starts with building trust and regular communication. I know that the four people you just mentioned, you guys have to trust each other. You have to lean on each other. You have to know that, like, on days when you're gone or you're sick, you can trust Kim that if you ask her to do something, she's going to get it done. If you ask Andy to reach out to somebody or do a thing, and vice versa, Andy knows that he can lean on you. He can lean on Erica. And that is a huge piece of the puzzle. So you want to make sure that you are having regular check-ins with this team. Are you fostering an environment where everyone is committed to the growth and learning, and you guys are all on the same page with regard to, here are our goals, here are the tasks that we need to accomplish in this quarter, and here are some possible hurdles that we might run into. How do we, and you talk through all of that, and that's going to build your trust and communication.
Yeah, and it's interesting because especially when you're a small business, and we're a small business, but we're really more getting into like medium-sized real estate.
Heck yeah, we are.
Almost into large real estate team.
$1 billion business over here.
Yeah, we're gonna hit a $500 million in sales this month. month, and I'm really excited about that. But one of the things that happens is when you're building, you're just constantly just trying to stay above board. It's like you're like somebody throws you in the ocean and you're like just trying to like live, just trying to live, trying to do it. And then like you catch some motion and you're like, okay, now I'm going to get to shore, right? And then you reach this point, which is where we're at, and we're like, okay, now like everything is working and we can see that year after year it's working better and better. Now, how do we take ourselves from that like mom and pop ideology into a more professional corporate like structure? And that actually took me hiring an outside consulting firm so that I could have a third-party person come in. And one of the first things she said was, after Zooming with Erica, I realized it seems like she doesn't really understand like what's your top priority as the CEO and what is your goals for her and the company, so she's working on the right things. Like everybody's working and everybody's doing a lot of jobs, but are they working on the goals you want them specifically working on? Have you set goals for her? And I'm like, no, I guess I never have set goals for her. So in our meeting on Wednesday, the first thing I said was, this is what we did last year. This is what we did great. This is what we want to work on. And here are our specific goals for the company. And here are each of our goals individually. Because even if we're all kind of working on the same thing, which is growing Elite Realty, even if we're all kind of wanting to recruit agents and wanting to get our forms better and wanting to get our processes and procedures tighter, each of us are doing that in a different way, right? Like I can lean on Kim to, all right, Kim, I want you to recruit 3 top performers, whereas Erica, I'm like, I want you to recruit 10 top performers, right? Because even though we're working on the same thing, we're working on it in different capacities with different other jobs.
Right.
So it was important for me to say, this is our goals as a company, and say them to my leadership team and to you guys so that everybody's on the same page. Hey, we closed this many million last year. I want us to up it to this many million this year, and each of you have a piece and a part to play in it. And these are my expectations of you and my expectations of you, so they know what to work towards. This is our goal, and this is our list of priorities within that goal. So if by chance, you've been doing a lot of coaching, right? Okay, well, let's start recording those coachings because it's the same one every week. And let's focus more of our time on recruiting top performers, right? So coaching's still important. We're going to do that still. We're going to do it a little different where we let them watch a video and then ask you questions as opposed to you sitting there saying the same thing over and over every single Monday, the first Monday of every single month of the year. Now you've did the same training 12 times when you could have recorded the first time and been recruiting during that time, right?
Absolutely. That's actually a great idea.
Yeah, so that's what we're implementing. Thank you.
You also want to make sure that you are playing to people's strengths, right? Yes. You can use a lot of different tools. There's the DISC test. There's a bunch of different personality tests, because here's the thing. And this is an analogy, you don't want like a quarterback in a linebacker spot. You wouldn't put a goalie in like a guard spot. I don't actually know all the hockey people names. So
no guards in hockey.
Whatever.
Basketball, yes.
There we go. So either which way, you want these people to be in the right spot. So you can start with a strength assessment test. Yeah. Use a DISC test. You can find them online. There are a bunch of different ones. And what this will do is it will tell you what these people like to do, but also based on their personality, what they are best at, right? So for example, Andy is great with training on, objections. He can be very aggressive and firm, but he does not always have the friendliest face, right? So you might not want to put him with a brand new recruit who's never done anything or whatever. Not saying that people can't change, and I'm picking on Andy just because I can. But, you want to make sure that you're putting people in the right spot, because if you don't, you're going to run into problems. People are going to be unhappy, and you're going to start going downhill. Yeah.
One big mistake that's made in real estate a lot, and that I made a couple times before I read a book that made me realize that this is not a good idea, is people take their top salesperson and they make them a manager. just because you're great at sales does not mean you can manage people.
Or train people.
It's one of the worst things that you can do, and it happens all the time, especially in the real estate industry. Is I have this top performing salesperson, and they're like, oh, well, I want to be a team lead because I'm great at this. You're an awful team lead. You're an awful
You are awful.
You're not good at coaching and training. You're not
go
good at
sell
accountability.
houses.
You have no empathy. You have no organization. I want you to just keep selling. Keep being our $20 million producer. You are not meant to manage a team. And there's nothing wrong with that. You need to play to your skills because not everybody is going to be great at everything. So be very, very careful of just because they're great at it doesn't mean that they should be the people that are managing other people and teaching them how to do it.
Yeah, exactly. And one last tip in this little area that we're talking about is you can bring your team together by creating like a shared vision document. And so you can do this by having it on like Google Docs and maybe like Trisha said, so like we have our company goals on this document at the very top. And then we have Trisha's goals, Andy's goals, Erica's goals, Kim's goals, and we put them all in this document and we're able to check it, every week or biweekly or monthly and check these things off throughout the quarter and just make sure that everybody is staying accountable, staying on track, and staying motivated toward the shared vision.
Yeah, another thing I started doing this year that I hadn't done previously is after every meeting I have and before every meeting I have, before I have a meeting, I'm sending out an email with an agenda. If it's a leadership meeting, or a questionnaire if it's a coaching meeting. If I'm coaching somebody, my questionnaire is going to say, what 3 things do you want to get out of this coaching session? Unless it's like regular coaching like I'm doing with you, where after we're done with it, so our initial coaching was, here's this questionnaire. And then at the end, I'm like, here are your action steps from our meeting. So then the next meeting is going to be, let's revisit those action steps and see what you did and what you didn't do.
Talk about why you didn't.
Yep. And then let's see what your goals are for our next session. With the leadership team, I sent out, and I am leaning into the Google. You got me on the Google Drive like nobody's business, and it was the best thing in my entire life. All props to Kylee. Because it goes right in with my Google Calendar, my Google Drive. It's all on my phone all the time.
Yeah.
So I don't have to stress about.
It's easy to share, dude.
Yeah. And so I shared the agenda with the team before we came. I said, look at this agenda and then add anything you want or bring anything additional or questions you have.
And they can just.
And it was perfect because then when we got to the meeting, Kim had like the agent contract, and she had went through it and she had like pointed out some things, and then Erica was like, okay, here's my things, and everybody was able to have that agenda in front of them, go through it together, put their input in it. And then after our meeting that night, I sent out an email and I was like, great job today, team, here's what everybody's doing. Because if they didn't bring a pen or they weren't writing notes, or maybe, another thing that happens in these meetings is somebody gets feelings and then they kind of zone out of the meeting, or kind of not zone out, but like
they disengage.
Perfect. They disengage because maybe they don't agree with something or they don't like it or whatever. They disengage. So then they're saying, yeah, I'll do this, I'll do that. And then, they're fine later, but they need something to revisit that says, oh yeah, it's my responsibility to share the Google Drive, to do this, to do that. So it's another way to like take assessment of who's doing what, to divide your roles more, because we found as a leadership team, we were double doing a lot of stuff. Like I'm training Sophie and Andy's training Sophie and Erica's training Sophie and everybody's training Sophie. And so then, nobody's actually checking in on Rachel because everybody's checking in on Sophie. And you need to be able to give everybody their time, attention, love, needs, wants, goals, right? And if you're not being intentional about those things, then those things don't happen. So I really like being able to, before I walk into a meeting, it's set out and it's clear to both parties of what we're talking about and what we're doing. And then after we finish, it's set out and it's clear. Everybody has action steps. We know what we're doing. So then next time we get together, there's no, oh, who forgot this? Who was supposed to do this? Why didn't this get done? There's accountability in place. It's in writing. It's shared. There's no surprises. We're able to keep moving forward instead of what's happened in years past, which is we come together for a leadership meeting. We have all these good ideas. It happens for 5 seconds and then the year goes on.
Yeah. And it saves you a lot of time too when you have that agenda put together, because like you just said, when you come together and everybody hasn't had time to review or prepare, like they don't know what you want to talk about, blah, 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 blah. And then it just saves you so much time. So tip, if you are going into this for the first time and you're like, I don't know what should be on the agenda, please talk to ChatGPT. Say, Hi, ChatGPT. Here is my role in the company. Here are the people I'm meeting with and here are their roles. What are give me an agenda for the meeting. Here are the goals I want to talk about, blah, 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 blah. And ChatGPT will give you some guidance and you can just tweak it from there. Don't reinvent the wheel. Work smarter, not harder. Use ChatGPT. My goodness. We need to get a sponsorship from them. I tell you what.
I used them for all of my things.
All of the things.
And you could put in how long the meeting's going to be too. So I'm like, I have a 45-minute meeting and it'll literally break it down. 10 minutes on introduction, 5 minutes on this, 5 minutes on this.
And don't be afraid to set an alarm to stay on track, because it is, like Trisha said, it is important to, when someone is having a conversation with you, if you need to take a couple extra minutes to deep dive, that's fine. But always, that was one thing I noticed working in some other capacities, was when we were in meetings, the leaders or the top performers that were in that meeting, they had alarms going off on their phone. And there would be times where it was like, their alarm would go off and 5 minutes would go by and they'd be like, all right, you guys, like you said the other day, like, we're spending a lot of time on this. Here's where we're leaving off. Here's what you're doing. Here's what you're doing. Here's what you're doing. If we need to talk about this more, we need to pick another time.
Yeah.
So don't be afraid to do that either, because that's going to save you a lot of grief, and then you won't end up leaving the office like Trisha at 11 o'clock at night.
Yeah. Well, and I said, respectfully, I so appreciate all of you guys' input. Yes. This is great. We will take it under advisement. We will discuss at a leadership meeting, and we will get back to you with our best possible solution to this problem.
Yeah. And so the next piece of the puzzle is like quarterly focus. So like Trisha said, you come into these initial meetings at the beginning of the year, everybody has all of these like overarching ideas and these great marketing plans and all of these really great things that you could be doing to take your company to the next level. You need to break it down by quarter, because if you break it down by month, I mean, maybe smaller projects, but what I have found is that quarterly, it gives you a lot more time to get things done, to update, revise, audit, and perfect it before you move on, right? So you want to make sure that you align your team around one key priority every quarter, because again, it is super easy to get distracted and lost in the minutia of everything else.
Yeah, and we're all experiencing the overwhelm of juggling too many things. When you are overwhelmed, a lot of people shut down. But if you have a clearly defined quarterly priority, everybody knows exactly where to direct their energy. And that doesn't mean you ignore everything else. It's just about ensuring that that number one priority is going to get done no matter what. And then you can figure out ways to work smarter, not harder on some of those other key tasks. Like I said, making videos, or one thing Andy was implementing is when we have meetings, there's an app that you can use where AI records it and then gives you like a highlight of your meeting.
Nice.
So instead of taking notes and then rewriting them into an email like I did for our leadership meeting, you could use an app like that. It's all about getting strategic about, I ask myself a lot of times, and I do this with other people too, I'm like, do you need to be doing this?
Yes.
And do you need to be doing this right now? Right?
Yeah.
Like I walked in.
That has changed my life so many times.
Yeah. I walked
just want
into
you to know
Andy's
that.
office the other day and he was doing something and I'm like, you don't need to be doing that. No.
And he was like,
Yeah, he's like, I've only been doing it for a few minutes. I'm like, that's a few minutes you could have been doing this other thing, right? And a lot of people do that because they're overwhelmed. So instead of eating the frog and doing the big thing they should be doing, they'll do something stupid like addressing envelopes. I'm like, that's an intern's job. That's your kid's job. You could be paying your 8-year-old kid $5 to address all those envelopes. You are a $100 per hour worker, not a $5 per hour worker. You should not be addressing envelopes. And you have to stay intentional about that because everybody falls into it. It's like, I'd rather do all these easy things than this one hard thing. But the hard thing is, number one, not hard. Number two, that's going to be the biggest money producer. So you got to be inclined and intentional about those things.
And that's why I don't work from home. Yesterday I worked from home because there were a couple of things going on with the dog and I wanted to be home to make sure, if he died, he wasn't alone. And I got nothing done. I got absolutely nothing done because the dog was fine. Tigger's alive. He's fine. But it's like I knew that I can work from home. Should I work from home? No, because you know what I ended up getting? My brain was like, you really should avoid making these phone calls and having these conversations and doing all the things you don't want to do. Maybe let's fold laundry and do dishes and just do all these other little things instead. So that is super great advice. Ask yourself when you are doing something, do I need to be doing this? Is there someone better suited for the job? And if it is something for me, do I need to do this right now? I cannot tell you how many times I've been doing something and I was like, I don't need to do. I literally dropped what I was doing. It freaked Ryan out the one day because I was folding laundry and it was the middle of the day and I needed to be doing something else. And so I just stopped folding laundry. I was like, I don't need to be doing this right now. And I walked away.
Good.
And I packed my bag and I went to the office.
Good. Yes. So
super proud of me.
I'm super proud of you. Here are some things you should be reviewing and discussing during your quarter meetings. So you're going to want to review the previous quarter. Mm-hmm. So progress on your priorities, assess how well the team is executed on the previous quarter's priorities, celebrate successes, and identify areas for improvement. So I always praise and then we dig into what we could do better because you always want to start on a positive note. That's really important. Metrics and results. Review your key performance indicators, your sales numbers, and other metrics to gauge overall performance. Coming back to us at Elite Realty, right? Erica, when she first started in the role of recruiting, she was emailing and she's like, yeah, but I sent out 1,785 emails. And I'm like, have you ever looked at an email and been like, I really want to go work for that company? No, you delete. Like we're realtors. We delete 100 emails that we don't even open and look at. So that is not a good metric for success. I want you to start getting on the phone and calling. And your metric for success is conversations and met appointments, right? Mm-hmm. And then challenges. Reflect on your obstacles encountered during the quarter and brainstorm ways to address them and prevent them moving forward. One of the first things that I asked in your first initial coaching is, what's going to stop you from doing this? What has stopped you from getting here before? Because if we can assess what gets in your way, then we can say, next time this happens, what are you going to do to get around it?
And what did I say? I was like, hi, it's me. I'm the problem. It's me. It's usually you. Just FYI.
Yeah.
It's usually you. So the other thing you want to talk about is defining the new quarterly focus. Like Trisha just said, figure out what your next project's going to be. Give out the tasks. Give out the metrics. And it should be specific, measurable, actionable, attainable. And then, like we talked about before, your supporting goals. So it's like, here's our overarching goal for this quarter. Here's what you're doing. Here's what you're doing. Here's what you're doing. Here's what you're doing. Here's when this is due. Here's when this is due. Here's when this is due. Because that was one thing when I was planning my 2025, I have one project for every quarter that I'm going to be working on personally and professionally. And so what I did was I said, okay, here is what I want to accomplish this quarter. Here are all the things that need to be done in order to get this done. Here are the due dates. And I shared that with Trisha. And Trisha's able to say, you didn't get this done. Where is this? You owe this. You owe this to yourself. You owe this to yourself. So make sure that you are defining those and putting due dates on everything. That way, it's not a situation where you get to the next quarterly meeting and nothing is done.
Yeah, and then team alignment and resources. So role clarity, that's one thing I touched on. Ensure everybody understands their role in achieving the quarterly priority because it's going to be different. My success is going to look different from yours. My day is going to look different from yours.
Yeah.
When I've been coaching you guys, every single one of you are realtors. Every single one of the people that I'm coaching are women. So I have women realtors. Yet every single plan that I send out is completely different from the next plan, because the way that Morgan is going to interact in her business, being a new realtor, having a different personality, being in a different, more rural area, it's going to look night and day with the action steps that I give you.
Right.
Right? Because you guys are night and day. So it's very much understanding like what one person needs is going to be different from what another person needs. Identify tools, training, and resources needed to support the team in achieving that priority. So when I look at what I can come alongside Morgan and give her for resources, that's going to look different than what I give you for resources.
Yeah,
right?
you're sending her, what were we talking about the other day? The shoe spikes?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Rachel was like, I don't need that link. I am not running anywhere, and not in the ice, not in the snow, not on a box, not with a fox.
Exactly. And then capacity check. That's important too. Discuss the workload.
Yeah.
So like if I have somebody who's super, super scared and they're just getting started and they don't want to get on the phones and they don't want to get on social media, I know that their capacity after we finish our first coaching session, it's going to be smaller. It's going to be less. Like just them starting 5 conversations is going to be their 100%. So you are going to have 5 conversations with strangers, and that's going to be a lot for them.
Yeah.
Whereas Sophie, I'm like, you have 252 database touches that I'm going to have in 7 days. And she's like, okay. I'm like, and you have 30 more on your sphere, and I want you to put 5 in. So right there, you have 282 plus 5, 287 touches.
We'll just call it 300.
I want her to talk to 300 people, and I just need her to talk to 5, right?
Yeah.
But that's what we need. We need to meet people where they are, because if I come in and I'm like, I want you to meet 300 people, she's done. She's done for the whole year.
She's like, and I quit.
Yeah, no, this is awful and terrible, and I don't want to do it. So you have
Absolutely.
to make sure that you're aligning with that person's priorities, personalities, resources, and capacity.
Yep. And so the next step we are going to jump into after a short break. So make sure you sit tight, and we'll be right back.
Did you know that over 80% of real estate agents call it quits within their first year in the business? It's a staggering statistic, but at mystarsacademy.com, we're here to change that narrative. Our expert-based training and coaching program caters to both agents and brokers. The Agent Accelerator program is your key to leveling up your real estate business. Learn how to generate a constant flow of free leads, convert those leads into loyal clients, and keep them coming back for more as repeat business. Our industry experts bring years of proven success to the table and provide one-on-one coaching to help you achieve structure and work-life balance. We'll map out a plan for you to follow, guiding you through the steps to scale and grow both in your business and personal life. Don't become another statistic. Visit mystarsacademy.com and enroll today to pave the way for your future success.
And we are back. Let's move on to the next habit, which is effective communication rhythm.
Absolutely. So this one is simple, but powerful. I feel like you can attest to that. So this is all about creating consistent flow of information across your organization. So whether you're a solo agent or you're part of a larger team, clear and timely communication keeps everyone engaged and informed. And I think that you kind of hit on this a little bit earlier when you were talking about the Google Drive and using Google Drive for like documents and keeping the agendas and the notes and this and that.
Yeah, because it's easy for things to slip through the cracks. Like we get these great ideas and we're like, yes, let's do this. But then life happens and then you just forget. Like you can forget people, you can forget meetings, you can forget resources. Like we spent all that time going through and making the Reason app, and then we launched it, and then I literally forgot that it existed. And it's like, if you have a rhythm for your team meetings and your email updates and a shared calendar calendar and shared docs, that goes a long way for keeping everybody on track. And so that was another big thing I said for this year was when I'm coaching, we're always going to be Wednesday at 9:30 because then you never forget. We always have 4-1 Wednesday at 11. Andy's call is always on Monday at 8:30. If you can have that effective communication rhythm and that routine, we've talked about it before with any habits, it's going to make it just more natural. The same with your communication for your team, your meetings. If it's on regular feedback loops, you have a system, you have a process, then you can address concerns before they become problems, and you keep those communication lines open because you're meeting on a regular basis. If we are not meeting on a regular basis, then what happens? She gets mad about something, she tells her, she's mad about it, she tells her. By the time it gets to me, it's a completely different story. Whereas if they know that we're going to have a meeting every single month, they can go, hey, Kim, at the next leadership meeting, can you guys chat about this? And then Kim's like, yep, got it. And then we're good.
Yeah, absolutely. So the next thing is accountability for the goals. So we talked about this a little bit. You want to make sure that every single person in your organization should know exactly what they're responsible for, because when you have clear ownership of your goals, your progress accelerates. And I will attest to this. When I did my tracker for this year, when I simplified it, because I felt like there were a couple different business planners and trackers that were going around. It was too much going on for my brain. And so, you know me, I'm an over planner. So I would have sat with those and I would have really enjoyed it. But I clearly defined what my goals were. And so I have very clear ownership of exactly what I'm responsible for, exactly what I'm striving for, and exactly what I'm doing. And having Trisha or having someone in your corner will help you to maintain that momentum. Because here's the thing, and I have physically felt this, and I don't know if you feel this, I'm sure you do. Once you get on a roll with something, you can physically feel the forward momentum in your life. And you want to maintain that forward momentum. And that's another thing. Like, that is what's going to allow you to keep progressing and keep moving towards that next level. And so you need to make sure that you have this essential step, and especially in real estate, where the results are based on your individual effort. Like, that's it. No one is responsible for Kylie's closings except for Kylee. No one is responsible for Trisha's closings except for Trisha. It is literally all about your personal effort. And if you are, whether you're in real estate or you're an entrepreneur, whether you're by yourself or you've got a partner, regardless of what you're doing, it is you. It's all about you.
For sure. And accountability isn't just checking boxes either. You're empowering yourself or your team to take ownership of their tasks and responsibilities. And when people understand their role in achieving the bigger picture, they're more likely to stay motivated and aligned with the company's vision. They're excited about being a part of a mission. When I was talking to Bevan and she was talking about like getting her book off the ground, and I'm like, well, when you're talking to people, like, what are you aligning with? Like, what is your mission? And what's the purpose behind it? Like, if you can align it with a cause,
right,
then people want to buy into it, right? Like, if somebody just comes to me and is like, I need some money for this. No. But if you have this vision of like Trey's Buy the Block, right? Like you're buying your block where you grew up and you're revitalizing the neighborhood so that you can give the community back to the people that are in it. That is a mission and a vision I can get behind and I want to support. If he just walked up and was like, buy this t-shirt for $100, I'd be like, nah, fam, no, thank you. But if I am helping the community, that's a different thing. Just like Bevan, buy my book. It's not really my style of book. Half of my proceeds go to veterans with PTSD, and I want to help especially women veterans with PTSD. I can get behind that. I would love to be a part of that mission.
Yeah.
Right. So your company has a mission and a vision. And when you can give people some ownership and being a part of, like ours is, to strengthen and serve the community, to give back, and to make elite realtors, we are changing the life one home sale at a time. And when we change the community, we change people's lives one home sale at a time, that means we're putting families and people into homes, and that's going to impact everything they do every day.
It's a
that's
ripple
the place
effect.
you look forward to, and it's impacting those agents, right? We want to grow and strengthen our agents so that they can go out and grow and strengthen the community, right? It's a ripple effect. So by giving them ownership in that, like, for example, Erica, her role is to recruit more people. Hey, when you recruit more people to Elite, that's more agents that are going to get developed and be able to serve and strengthen the community. So you're directly impacting the community and directly impacting those people's lives. And that's something excited to get behind, as opposed to, I just want you to make 300 phone calls this month.
Right, exactly. And in just wrapping this up and putting a bow on it, when you give these people accountability, and when everyone clearly understands what their position is on the team, it gives them a sense of value.
Yes.
It gives them a sense of value in the building of XYZ. So that is something that will pull them through. Like when you guys hit snags, because life is just going to keep lifing, like we talk about. It's not perfect. You will have tough days. One thing that I know is that when people feel valued in their job, and they I mean, I don't want to say but like when they care about the team that they are involved with, they will stick it out through some nasty stuff. You will stick it out through better for worse, in sickness and in health, and that is the kind of ride or die team you want to establish.
Absolutely. Loyalty is everything, and it's definitely hard to find in the real estate industry.
Like when you were talking about like how Kim has been with you guys for like 150 years, I was like, no way. Like when I came to Elite Realty, she was like, yep, Kim is my ride or die. I will take care of her. I lean on her. She leans on me. We are sisters. We are in this knee deep, elbow deep till we're in the grave.
Yeah, she's been with us since she was 16, and her daughter is going to be 16 soon.
Yeah.
Like we are in it together, and we take care of each other though. Like it's so important. And it brings us to employee input and feedback. So Rockefeller understood that in order to continuously improve, he needed to listen to his team. Your employees are your team members. They're on the front lines. They have valuable insights into what's working and what's not. And regular input and feedback to keep you aware of obstacles and opportunities is really important. So that brings us to that meeting we had. You know, we want to hear what this looks like and feels like to you guys. And I mean, at the end of the day, we have to take an executive decision in what's going to happen. And sometimes, like I said in that meeting, there's not going to be a blanket best way to do it.
Right.
But we can keep trying new strategies and seeing if they work better.
Right. And one thing I appreciated was you laid out what very well was a very sticky conversation. And you allowed everybody to have their say. And you really took into account like, okay, that's a good point. That's a good point. That's a good point. And we all agreed before the meeting ended, this is a good idea. We're going to do this, but then we are going to start doing this thing. And maybe not everybody left feeling happy about the way that it went, but everybody was definitely had an opportunity to be heard. And that's the name of the game.
Yeah, and we were all able to get our feelings out in the open and have full transparency. And I think that that's important because when I'm talking to agents about their clients, like when I do stars training, I'm like, listen, if you're not over communicating with your clients, here's what happened. Brene Brown talks about this all the time. People make up stories in their head. And I started doing this where I'll go, the story in my mind that I am hearing is X. And then Dave will be like, yeah, no, actually, this is how
What's
I'm feeling or what's happening, right? And it's the same with your team at work. If you are not able to have these regular check-ins, then the story that John is telling himself is that Tyler gets all the leads. Okay, so let's talk about how many leads did you get? How many leads did you get? How many leads did you get? How many, like, we went through and we said how many leads everybody got. We went through and we said how many closings everybody had, how many units, how much volume. So now nobody can tell any stories in their head because we're like, here's the numbers, guys. Like, no reason for us to hide them. We want everybody to be successful and thrive. So being able to be fully transparent as a leader and say, anytime you guys want to log in and check things out, I have no problem with that. Like, I'm fully transparent. I want every single person on my team to be happy, to be excited, to be a part of the mission, and to know that, like, you're loved and supported and what you are saying and feeling and doing is important. And I tried to really, like, whether I agreed with somebody's point or not, I tried to always be like, that is a great question, because they are all great questions.
Yeah.
Because you may have been wondering about this and you may have decided that this is how things were going. And then when we're able to show you something different, you're like, oh, okay, I didn't realize that, because you don't know what you don't know until you dig in a little deeper, right? So all about that communication.
Yeah, and that brings us to your customer feedback, right? So we all have, or you should have, your business on Google Businesses. So that's where a lot of people are going in order to give their feedback. Now, one thing you want to do is you want to hit your customers up for feedback before they get to Google. Because if for some reason there was a misunderstanding or someone had a really bad experience, whether it was your agent's fault or not, you know, like we talked about with Erica, the buyer's perspective was that she had a bad experience, and Erica's whole situation was completely different. You want to hit these people for feedback before they get to the public forum. So one thing that you can do is when you are closing a deal or when you are finishing a transaction or however it is you wrap up with your clients, you can send an email, you can send a text message, you can call them, you can ask them. You want to give them an opportunity to express how their experience went. And what I like to do is I like to call my clients and say, hey, I had a really great time with you. I really enjoyed our time together. We're definitely going to keep in touch. Is there anything that I could have done differently that would have made this a better experience for you? And most often it's, no, you did great, blah, blah, blah. But sometimes it was, yeah, well, when this happened, I felt a little put off, but like you fixed it, or maybe I didn't. And I was able to have that conversation. And then I was able to say, great, thank you so much for giving me that feedback. I can use that in our next transaction, or I can take that to the next client, and just make sure that everybody has a great time. And then depending on how that conversation goes, you can ask them for a 5-star review on the internet. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure. Because happy clients are repeat clients and they refer others to you. And when you're in a business of sales, whether it's real estate or cars or
worms,
worms, roofs, whatever it is, man, you want those happy repeat clients and you want that positive feedback. So that brings us into like really living your core values and purpose. Rockefeller didn't just have values on paper. He infused his organization with those values every single day. Your business culture should reflect your core values. And when your team lives those values, you'll see more alignment, passion, and motivation. We have our mission, vision, and values on all the walls throughout our office. And I talk about them a lot.
Yeah.
I talk about them probably 60%, 70% of the time that we get together in any given meeting. And it's important. If I ask you right now, what's one of our core values? There you go. What's one of our core values? Integrity. Right?
That's the one that resonates with me the most, that I have really taken on, because I believe that, you know, that blankets a lot of areas. And when you are living a life of integrity, you can ask my kids. I've taught them what integrity means. It means doing the right thing even when nobody's looking. And I try to do my best, like especially when you are working with a team like ours, where we have some people who are tight-knit together, we have some people who are tight-knit together over here, but we are all the same team. And so, for example, like if you've got a problem with someone, like Trisha said, you want to make sure that you are living, an integrity-filled life, and you are not like saying something to Jane about Bob that you wouldn't say to Bob's face, right? You want to make sure that you are living these core values. So if you are just getting started in your business, or maybe you have a business and you haven't done this yet, definitely sit down, figure out what your mission is, figure out what your core values are, and make sure that the rest of your team understands what those are and how they can express those and exhibit those out in the world. Because it's, at the end of the day, I'm a representative of Elite Realty. And the way that I behave on my social media, the way that I behave at networking events, the way that I behave over here, over there, eventually I want people to know that I'm with Elite Realty and I'm a real estate agent, because that is how I do my business. And the last thing I want is for someone to be like, oh God, I would never work with anyone from Elite Realty because Kylie's got a potty mouth, or Kylie, gossips all the time, or Kylie does this or Kylie does that. I want people to know that I'm a good person and I represent an amazing team. And that's why they want to come and work with us.
Yeah, and I love that you immediately could say one of our core values. I feel like
I couldn't tell you any of the other ones.
You've done a good job in your business if somebody can walk in the front door and ask everybody one of the core values. And I guarantee every single person in our business can name at least one. Yes. And in ours,
kindness.
Our kindness. Yep, it is. It's integrity, honesty, personal and professional development, kindness, and unselfishness.
Oh, see?
So selflessness. Which we do through our Elite Cares program. And I feel like everybody on our team lives those values.
For sure.
Every single person on our team. So let's wrap things up. We embraced the Rockefeller Habits of Business Success. I mean, everybody knows that name Rockefeller, so you know that these are the habits of success that you want to be implementing, you want to be integrating, and you want to use them to create a thriving culture where your team and your clients are aligned, engaged, and motivated to rock it out.
Yeah.
Rock it out with Rockefeller.
Yay. Thank you so much for joining us today. Before you go, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, like the show, and share the show. I feel like we threw out a ton of nuggets, and I know this one was a little longer, but it's because we're just going through all of this, and we have a lot to say about it because we're going through this. Take our experience.
Yeah.
Work smarter, not harder. Don't reinvent the wheel. Take these tips that we've given you. Take these notes from our conversation of things we are already doing and living, and go implement them in your life, whether you have a business or not. I feel like anybody could come in here. If you're a stay-at-home mom, there's a bunch of stuff in here you can take and implement into your family and into your routine, because whether you like it or not, like a family is, a business. Your family is a team. So I hope you really enjoyed today's show. I really enjoyed today's conversation. And don't forget to come back next week because we drop fresh content every Thursday here on The Elite Life.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us today on the Elite Life Podcast with Trish and Kylie. Don't forget to share this episode with a friend so we can keep delivering you more fantastic insights on grit, grace, and growth. Stay connected with us on Instagram and Facebook, where we'll keep the ideas flowing to help you build a life you love and leave a legacy you can be proud of. Until next time.